Hey friends, and welcome back to more Reddit stories about entitled people, crazy people, and all that kind of stuff. So make sure to subscribe for more Reddit content, and we're getting right into today's stories. I think what you mean to say is thank you for not calling the police. So this was at the first hotel I ever worked at, and it still boggles my mind. So it was in June, me and a coworker were working, and two ladies come in and book a room for one night. Nothing out of the ordinary. A few hours later, we noticed teenagers taking photos in front of the hotel. Again, nothing too nuts. Then we notice more and more teens are coming up and asking to go to that room. Until finally, I go up to the room and knock on the door to ask how many people are in that room. They say 5. I ask to do a room check and they let me in. I open the bathroom door, and there were about 20 people squished in the bathroom with an open bottle of vodka right there. So nope, everyone out. Kicked out all the teens. One of them got an attitude with me, saying she was calling her mom. I told her to go ahead. Actually, I wanted to talk to her mom because this is great parenting, and we would like to put her on our do not rent list. After that, they left with no issues. The moms came up and started sniffing everything in the room like we were lying. But then we got a call saying we were so mean and traumatized the girls, and how could we do that? At this point, I'm annoyed, so I snap back. What I think you mean to say is thank you for not calling the police and getting all of our children slapped with a minor in possession charge. The mom went silent and hung up the phone. Don't get me wrong, in high school I went to parties, I drank and whatnot, but we went to people's houses, not hotels. Is this normal now? Yes, OP, you're such a jerk for traumatizing a bunch of teenagers when you kicked them out of a hotel room after finding 20 of them crammed in a bathroom trying to hide. And like OP said, a bunch of teenagers trying to get drunk really isn't the ridiculous thing here. It's the fact that one of the parents actually thought it was a good idea to try to complain to the hotel for kicking them out. Honestly, what did she expect? She is lucky that they didn't call the cops. Crazy neighbors calling cops on delivery guys. We belong to a homeowners association in Virginia, where we share a communal driveway back to our individual houses, which are set back from the street. The driveway to our HOA community is not gated off, but has markings that it is private property and not to trespass. Some of my neighbors think that anyone who is not a resident should not be able to drive down this shared driveway to our houses. This specifically includes Uber drivers, the FedEx, USPS, and UPS guy, any utilities people that need to come onto the property to service a house, etc. The vast majority of the time they are here less than 5 minutes doing their deliveries. My neighbors want anyone here for a delivery to park on the public street, and then walk down the driveway / get a dolly, and dolly down the driveway any deliveries, which understandably is a huge pain in the butt for our delivery folks. They are calling the cops whenever the UPS, FedEx, USPS person comes to deliver a package, and have complained to any corporate about them trespassing. Yes, they've called UPS, FedEx, and USPS to complain. The FedEx guy has actually come to my house and asked if he can have permission to use the driveway, as I've gotten heavy packages delivered before, and I don't want to make him have to walk all the way down the driveway carrying it in. I told him he has my permission, but my neighbors continue to call the cops and complain to corporate whenever he drives down our driveway to my house to drop off a package. Are my neighbors correct in telling my delivery people they can't come on our shared property and that they're trespassing if I give permission? There is nothing concerning this in our HOA policy, although one of the neighbors who constantly complains is the president of the HOA board. I'm not sure he's allowed to unilaterally decide that they aren't allowed to do this if they have my permission. And a commenter here said, your neighbors can call whomever they want to call. You can't stop them from making complaints. I doubt the police are going to come running because of a FedEx truck. NOP says the cops have come every time, 4 times in the past 6 months, and usually say this is a private matter and leave. Our cops apparently have time to spare. I guess my concern is more around, are my neighbors correct to tell my delivery people they can't come on our shared property and that they're trespassing if I give permission? If it's a shared common area according to HOA governing documents, then subject to reasonable rules and regulations adopted by the HOA in accordance with the governing documents, any owner can give permission for temporary use. So as far as the rules and regulations go, it seems that there is not actually anything in writing that says that delivery people can't go up the driveway. It's obviously just some people on a power trip with nothing better to do with their time. So just let them keep calling the cops, because I guess there's nothing else you can do. And maybe after they get called out enough times over these bogus complaints, the cops will eventually do something about these people for wasting their time. So it is a pretty annoying situation, but there's not really much you can do on your end, and hopefully your neighbors will just get themselves into trouble eventually. Told a family that stole my water bottle that I had an STI. I, 22 female, work at an amusement park during the summer holidays to make some extra cash on the side. My job role involves checking people's tickets, placing them onto the ride, checking some safety restraints, and watching over the ride course in case of an emergency happening. While I was checking safety restraints, I noticed that one of the customers had stolen my water bottle. The man stole my water bottle and passed it to his wife, who then gave it to their child daughter. I briefly noticed it happen out of the corner of my eye. I don't know what came over me. I guess I was just tired due to having to deal with countless tired, exhausted, and cranky guests, and I thought that the family needed to learn a lesson to not steal people's water bottles. I walked up to the man and I told him that he shouldn't have stolen it. He looked panicked and apologized and asked if I wanted it back. I declined and said that, for his information, I have mouth herpes, before showing him a mouth ulcer I had. Not from herpes, but from accidentally biting my mouth while eating. He looked panicked and then told his wife, who broke down sobbing. While telling my friends and family about this, they all seemed rather split. Some of my friends thought it was a really funny prank to pull, while a lot of others in my family think that while the family was in the wrong to steal my property in broad daylight, I shouldn't have given the family such a scare from a serious disease. Side note, it was a $10 refillable water bottle. It has a rather unique design. I got it while on vacation in Japan and the design is very cute, which could explain the reasoning as to why he stole it. Entitled girl climbs on Ferrari. So I'm walking down the Castro in San Francisco this afternoon and saw a Ferrari with silver glitter paint parked across the street. We stopped to admire the paint job when 3 girls walked up to the car, and one steps up on the trunk and walks up the roof to lay on her stomach while her friends take pics. The owner comes out of a shop yelling at her to get off his car. She argued that she's almost done and posed with one arm in the air and one leg up. The owner gets pissed off and starts to charge at the car. She rolls off the car and tells him he needs to chill. The girls start to walk in the restaurant. When the owner goes back in the shop, they come back and she sits all over the hood for pics. Fortunately, they did no damage, but what the hell? Shooting down my neighbor's drone. I have a neighbor, let's call him Tom. Tom is obsessed with drones and flying them around the neighborhood. He has a pretty impressive collection and loves to show off his latest gadgets. I have a beautiful garden that I've put a lot of time and effort into, and I like my privacy, so I've always told Tom to keep his drones away from my yard. One afternoon, I was enjoying some quiet time in my garden when I heard the familiar buzzing of a drone. I looked up, and sure enough, one of Tom's drones was hovering above my garden, its camera pointed right at me. This was the 3rd time this month, and I had had enough. I grabbed my garden hose, set it to the highest pressure setting, and aimed it at the drone. After a few seconds of spraying, the drone started to sputter and eventually crashed into my rose bushes. I picked it up and marched over to Tom's house, where he was standing on his porch with a shocked expression. "Did you just shoot my drone down?" he asked, incredulous. "Yes, I did," I replied. "I told you to keep them away from my property and you didn't listen. Now you can have it back in pieces." Tom started yelling about how expensive the drone was and that I had no right to destroy his property. I told him he had no right to invade my privacy and that he was lucky I didn't call the police for trespassing. I left the broken drone on his porch and went back to my garden, feeling a mix of satisfaction and guilt. Later that evening, Tom came over to apologize and offered to pay for any damage to my rose bushes. I accepted his apology but made it clear that if I saw another drone over my property, I wouldn't hesitate to take it down again. Husband gives petty gift after ongoing neighbor issues. We moved into a rental house in our neighborhood with our 3 kids, and the day after we moved in, our neighbor, let's call him Gene, knocked on our door after my husband left for work. When I answered the door, he skipped all pleasantries and introductions to gruffly inform me that the light switch in my family room closet needed to be turned off immediately, and that it was my duty to ensure that it was kept off. Obviously puzzled by this demand, I asked what the switch was for. Gene said that the switch was for an exterior patio light that would shine into his bedroom at night and keep him awake, which was not acceptable. I figured the kids had turned it on while exploring the new house, so I assured him I'd turn it off. Without another word, he turned on his heel and went home. Unfortunately, my rude Gene encounters persisted during the 18 months we lived there. He would wait for my husband to leave, then come and complain and gripe at me about something we had done wrong. Our dogs would loudly sniff at the fence if he was outside. Our sprinkler was spraying too high. Our trash can was too close to his, etc., etc. Our other neighbors adored us and our kids, so I really don't think we were the problem. I finally stopped answering the door, so he started leaving notes, and even went as far as to find me on Facebook and send a message there. Just the worst. Husband tried to talk to him and tell him to leave me alone, but he'd deny any wrongdoing. Reasoning with him was pointless, so we made the decision to just ignore him the best we could. We were finally moving to a new place out of town, and my husband went back to do the final walkthrough of the house. When he left for the final time, he called me to let me know he had a gift for me. The last thing he did before locking the door and leaving the house for good? Turning on the patio light switch in the closet, knowing full well the landlord wouldn't be there for final cleaning for 4 days. Best gift ever. I still laugh when I think about it. Well friends, that's going to be all for today. Thank you for watching. As always, I really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more Reddit stories. So I'm out of here. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you all next time.